Hi folks, thanks for spending a little time with me again today. We're going to look at the Clarke Technical Studies, the seventh study. I might need to read this one since I haven't practiced it. But we're going to see what we can learn from doing this. Now, it seems very similar to the other examples that Clarke gives. Most of these exercises are very similar. Most people don't get this far in this book, and I haven't either. So if you stayed with it, you're a trooper, and I congratulate you. But again, what we're trying to do is find some enjoyment, some satisfaction, and keep in mind that it's not just about your satisfaction. What you're doing is you're actually training yourself so that you can apply these skills to playing music that is going to lift people up, that is going to be a blessing to them, that is going to take them to into a different mood or a different world, if you will. And if you keep that goal in mind, for me that helps a lot. So I'm going to end up wanting to not just show off that I can play these quickly and evenly and with a good sound, and take satisfaction in that, which is fine to do. But you're actually building skills so you can play music. Always keep that in mind. So let's start out by looking at what this one is. And it's very, very simple, as most of these are. You have chromatic lower neighbors, chromatic upper neighbors, and a chromatic scale. So if you look at the first section of the seventh study, this is number 133. That's all that happens in the first section. It's a chromatic scale with either lower or upper neighbors. Now, we talked a little bit previously about use of the slides. We talked a bit about playing things, trying to play things in tune without using the slides. So if you want to practice using the slides and playing this slowly, I'm going to take my little slide retainer off here. It'll make my job a lot easier. Yeah, that feels better. If you can see that, I'm gonna try and make it more visible for you. As I make my transition, it's very complicated. It's kind of finicky, and obviously, if you're playing, at that tempo, it's too awkward to do. It doesn't really make sense. But it's a great way to practice when you do these very slowly to try and work that aspect in. And you'll notice different horn. This horn requires a great deal of throw for the C sharp, not as much for the D. I have other horns that are pretty close, it doesn't require too much throw of the slide. Every horn is a little bit different, and if you put a different mouthpiece in, the notes might be in a different position. So that gets down into the finicky, picky stuff. But for those of you who are really meticulous about your skills and about your technique, go ahead and do the work. This is slow practice, obviously. So I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to try and play these relatively in tune without using the slides. Now, in the next section, you have arpeggios. So what is this? Well, let's see if we can figure it out. Okay, so on the B flat trumpet, that's a G major arpeggio. Okay, that's a C major arpeggio in second inversion, so it's starting on the low G. Back to the G major arpeggio, and then what? D7 arpeggio. So it's a harmonic progression, and we talked about this a little bit before. Instead of thinking of individual notes, learn the fingerings. Oh, there's a problem. That pesky third finger. Now I'm singing. You notice I'm also articulating. Great way to practice. Take a few minutes and do that, and what it helps you to do is line up your articulation and your fingers with the sound. And when you do that, everything is going to start to be cleaner. Most people, when they play these, play them faster than they can play them accurately. And I'm certainly guilty of that. You know, I like to, you know, just zip through things, and I have fun going fast. And so do a lot of people. But see if you can take some pleasure in that smoothness of the wave that you're creating here. Okay, so the fingers are an issue. And remember, a little tip that I mentioned before: listen. So when I do that cross fingering, that, you know, second valve to 1 and 3, which is a little bit challenging because of this kind of stiffness, the limitation in the movement of the third finger, listen that the valves are perfectly timed. So when 1 and 3 go down and then they come up, that they're exactly together. A lot of times there's a little bit of a limping that takes there, and you'll notice that in your playing. If you do notice it, take time, slow it down, and see if you can improve that. Okay? The sound is a kind of feedback. I've mentioned that before. There's also visual feedback. So you know, if you watch, you can try various things. I mean, look, folks, if you want to, you can drive yourself crazy with this. So take it in small enough doses that you can continue to have a good time and enjoy the process, but large enough doses so that it challenges you and it starts to stick into your system and happen automatically. That's the best advice I can give you. Take your time. When it starts to get annoying to you, move on to something else. Have fun. Play some, you know, melodic studies, or practice your orchestral excerpts, or whatever it is that you're working on. You know, work on a transcription of a jazz solo. Change your frame of mind, change your focus, and come back to this stuff later. And I think you're going to find then the whole process will be very, very positive. Okay, so I'm going to play through that second section again. Okay, and I'm taking my time. I'm changing the tempo a little bit. Give yourself freedom to experiment with different ways of working. And I think you'll find this stays interesting. If not, turn the page. There's always another study you can work on. Now I'm gonna spend a little bit of time working on articulation. So first we're gonna single tongue it. Now everybody has different kind of gifting, different skills. Some people have an extremely fast and agile single tongue naturally. It's not difficult for them. Other people, and I put myself in that category, the single tongue has never been, you know, as fast as other folks. I know my colleagues in the BSO, 2 of them, I won't mention any names, have quite easy, fast, natural single tongue. and the other two in the trumpet section of the BSO do not. I know for a fact that Bill Vacchiano, who was the great first trumpet player of the New York Philharmonic for so many years, had very, very slow single tongue. You can always compensate for that by developing good multiple tongue. And that's a whole area of study which we'll examine later on in more detail. But if you want to start to mix it up a little bit, go back to the variations we talked about in some of the early episodes, and go back and forth between slurring and tonguing. Now that's all single tongue. I like to practice single tongue K articulation. Both legato and staccato. That's a little bit more advanced, and again, we'll talk about that in greater detail when we work specifically on articulation. But I like to mix it up. So I'm going, and obviously in this pattern you could use triple tongue. See, that's sloppy, slow it down. I need to work on this. I need to practice it. So I suggest that you go do the same, and don't push yourself beyond where you have good form and you're keeping control. You're just wasting your time when you do that. And I like to go fast too, but see if you can bring some of that enjoyment of kind of the Tai Chi form of practice, that slow motion martial arts. Okay, go ahead and have fun in your practice today, and I'll see you later on at some point, I hope. Have a good day. Bye-bye.